Hello friends, on May 24th, 1987, in Canada, a 23-year-old man named Kenneth Parks was sleeping on his couch in the middle of the night. He had recently lost all his money betting on horse races. Completely drowned in debt and having lost his job, Kenneth had fallen asleep after watching Saturday Night Live on TV that evening. The next morning, his plan was to visit his in-laws to ask them for some financial help. But before the morning arrived, around 1:30 a.m., he suddenly got up from the couch, sat in his car, and started driving. In the middle of the night, he drove about 22 kilometers on the highway and reached his in-laws' house. He had a key to their home, so he quietly unlocked the door and went inside. There, he brutally murdered his mother-in-law and severely injured his father-in-law. Not only that, after the attack, Kenneth, covered in blood and still confused, drove straight to the police station. He walked in and said, "I just killed 2 people." His hands were badly injured, but strangely, he felt no pain. On the way to the hospital in the ambulance, he even told the police where he had left the murder weapon: a knife. But the strangest part of this entire story is that Kenneth Parks had no motive to harm his in-laws. During the trial, what his lawyer said left everyone shocked. They claimed that Kenneth Parks had committed the crime while sleepwalking, that he wasn't conscious at all, and therefore shouldn't be punished. Because according to them, Kenneth was sleepwalking that night. So the question is, was Kenneth Parks really sleepwalking? Is it even possible for someone to commit such an act while asleep? And if someone does something like this while sleepwalking, are they legally responsible for it or not? And most importantly, why do some people behave like this in their sleep? What's the science behind it? Let's understand the mystery of sleepwalking in today's video. In medical terms, sleepwalking is called somnambulism. It's a type of sleep disorder that occurs during non-REM sleep. So, what exactly happens? Human sleep is broadly divided into 2 types. REM, rapid eye movement. Sleep, non-REM sleep. As the name suggests, during REM sleep, your eyes move rapidly under your eyelids, even though your eyes are closed. But during non-REM sleep, this doesn't happen. When we first go to bed, we enter non-REM sleep. Non-REM sleep itself has 3 stages. 1. In the first stage, we begin to drift off. Our awareness of external noises or movements decreases. 2. In the second stage, the sleep deepens. 3. The third stage, known as N3, is the deepest stage of sleep. In this stage, waking someone up is very difficult, and even if you manage to wake them, they'll feel disoriented and confused. After completing these 3 stages, the body enters REM sleep, the stage where dreams occur. During REM, the heart rate increases and the brain becomes more active, processing emotions and consolidating memories. But here's the key point. Sleepwalking doesn't happen in REM sleep. It happens during deep non-REM sleep, N3 stage. A person who is sleepwalking might have their eyes open and may even appear to respond to their surroundings. From the outside, it looks like they're awake. But in reality, most of their sensory perception is shut down. They can't truly see, hear, or smell what's around them. Their movements are automatic, guided by habit, and sometimes they can even avoid obstacles, but without conscious awareness. Typically, sleepwalkers have blank facial expressions, and their eyes often roll upward or inward. Importantly, they don't remember what happened afterward. If you wake a person during a sleepwalking episode, they'll likely be confused and disoriented for several minutes. The same as when someone is awakened during deep N3 sleep. Humans sleep in sleep cycles, which include all these stages: N1, N2, N3, REM, one after another. Each sleep cycle lasts about 90 to 110 minutes. In the first half of the night, the deep N3 sleep stage is longer. As morning approaches, REM sleep becomes longer instead. That's why it's said that waking up at the end of a sleep cycle, for example, after 7.5 or 9 hours, makes you feel refreshed, because those times usually align with the end of a cycle. However, the exact duration of a sleep cycle varies from person to person. You have to observe when you naturally wake up feeling most refreshed to know your own rhythm. Coming back to sleepwalking, its episodes can last from a few minutes to several hours. The frequency also varies. Some people experience it once a month, others several times a week. And here's the fascinating part. Some people do incredible things while sleepwalking. For example, British-Australian artist Lee Hadwin can paint while sleepwalking. Yes, really. At just 15 years old, he created 3 portraits of famous Hollywood actresses while asleep. The strangest thing, he cannot paint when he's awake, only in his sleep. As experts explain, his brain's emotional centers express themselves through art when the frontal areas, responsible for inhibition, are asleep. Similarly, in Scotland, a man named Robert Wood would wake up in the night and start cooking. He would prepare dishes like omelets and pasta, all while asleep. That's why he's known as the sleepwalking chef. Even famous Indian cricketer Sachin Tendulkar was known to sleepwalk early in his career. His teammate Sourav Ganguly once shared that, during a tour of England in 1990, he noticed Sachin walking aimlessly around their room at 1:30 a.m., then sitting on a chair, all while asleep. When Ganguly asked him about it the next morning, Sachin said, "Oh, I tend to walk in my sleep." To which Ganguly replied, "Man, you're scaring me at night." But unfortunately, not every case of sleepwalking is harmless or creative. Sometimes it turns violent, as in the case of Kenneth Parks in Canada. So, why does sleepwalking happen in the first place? In India, there are many myths around it. Some link it to ghosts or past lives. But the truth is, sleepwalking has nothing to do with spirits or supernatural forces. It's a purely neurological phenomenon caused by incomplete awakening of the brain. In simple terms, part of the brain is asleep while another part is awake. The exact cause isn't fully known, but according to recent scientific research, it happens when the transition into deep N3 sleep doesn't go smoothly. The processes of sleeping and waking up overlap. During a sleepwalking episode, the brain regions that control movement are awake, but the areas responsible for conscious awareness remain asleep. That's why people can walk, stand, or even drive without being truly awake. This is possible because complex behaviors like walking, eating, or painting can be controlled by lower brain structures like the brainstem and cerebellum, even without higher brain centers being active. Just like our autonomic nervous system keeps our heart beating and lungs breathing without conscious effort, in sleepwalking, the motor systems act automatically, without the conscious brain being awake. The autonomic nervous system continuously controls our physiological functions, things like heartbeat, digestion, and breathing. Our body doesn't need conscious thought to perform these tasks. This system has two branches. One, the sympathetic branch, which manages the fight or flight response, how the body reacts in moments of danger or stress. Two, the parasympathetic branch, which manages the rest and digest response, the state of relaxation and recovery. In 2021, a fascinating discovery was made about sleepwalkers' autonomic nervous systems. Researchers found that during the N3, deep sleep stage, sleepwalkers actually show reduced sympathetic activity and elevated parasympathetic activity. In simple terms, their rest and digest system is more active, and their fight or flight system is less active. This was a shocking discovery because earlier scientists believed the opposite, that during sleepwalking, the fight or flight response must be overactive, leading to physical movement and arousal. But new research showed the exact reverse. Recent studies also suggest that in older adults, sleepwalking can sometimes be an early warning sign of neurological or cognitive issues such as dementia or Parkinson's disease. Now, there's a common myth that sleepwalkers walk like zombies, with their arms stretched straight out in front. That's not true at all. Another popular misconception is that if you wake up a sleepwalker suddenly, they might get a heart attack or fall into a coma. That's also false. But as I mentioned earlier, it's still not advisable to wake them up because they'll feel very confused and disoriented afterward. Now comes the question, how common is sleepwalking? According to a major meta-analysis, about 6.9% of people experience sleepwalking at least once in their lives. It's most common among children, especially boys between 7 to 15 years old. Fortunately, in most cases, sleepwalking disappears with age. When children sleepwalk, they usually appear calm and sluggish, but adults who sleepwalk tend to move quickly and abruptly, as if they're in a hurry. They may walk fast, sit suddenly, or make strange, repetitive movements, which can sometimes look frightening. Scientists still don't fully understand why there's such a difference between children and adults. It's an ongoing area of research. Now, whether or not you will ever sleepwalk depends a lot on genetics. A study published in JAMA Pediatrics found that if one parent has a history of sleepwalking, their child has a 47.4% chance of being a sleepwalker. If both parents have a history of sleepwalking, the chance increases to 61.5%. But if neither parent has ever sleepwalked, the chance drops to just 22.5%. Researchers have also identified a genetic locus on chromosome 20q12-13.12 that may play a role in passing the disorder from parents to children. But genetics isn't the only factor. There are several triggers that can cause sleepwalking episodes in susceptible people. 1. Sleep deprivation. Lack of sleep is one of the biggest causes. The body needs sufficient slow-wave, deep sleep for smooth transitions between stages. When sleep is incomplete, the brain gets stuck in deep sleep longer and fails to transition properly, increasing the chances of partial awakening and sleepwalking. 2. Stress. Emotional or psychological stress can trigger episodes. 3. Obstructive sleep apnea, OSA, a condition where breathing temporarily stops during sleep. Severe OSA increases the likelihood of sleepwalking. 4. Medications, such as sedatives, antidepressants, and antipsychotics, often prescribed for heart disease or anxiety, can also increase risk. In children, triggers can include fever or illness. Children with asthma are also more likely to sleepwalk because disrupted breathing affects sleep quality. Now friends, let's return to the first story we began with. If someone commits a crime while sleepwalking, should they be considered guilty? This is a massive legal gray area. In criminal law, 2 elements must exist to convict someone. 1. The act of the crime, actus reus. 2. The intent or guilty mind, mens rea. To be convicted, a person must not only commit a crime, but must also have had the intention to do so. In cases of sleepwalking, the body commits the act, but the mind is not involved. So the crime happens, but there's no intent. In the case of Kenneth Parks, his lawyers argued exactly this, that he could not be held responsible because he didn't choose to commit the act consciously. His body committed the crime, but his mind was innocent. Medical experts testified that Kenneth was indeed sleepwalking at the time, and the jury acquitted him, declaring him not guilty. This became a landmark case worldwide, establishing the idea of sleepwalking defense in law. However, this defense doesn't always succeed. Otherwise, anyone could claim to be sleepwalking to escape punishment. It depends entirely on whether the judge and jury believe the defendant's story. In fact, many courts are skeptical of the sleepwalking defense, aware that criminals might misuse it. One judge even called it a quagmire of law, a legal swamp. That's why sleepwalking as a legal defense remains highly controversial. For instance, in 1997, in the United States, a man named Scott Falater murdered his wife. In court, he claimed he was sleepwalking at the time. 2 experts even testified in his favor. But after hearing all arguments, the jury didn't believe him. The murder weapon, a hunting-style knife, was found hidden in his car's spare tire compartment. He had also removed his blood-stained clothes, put them in a plastic bag, hid them, and changed into pajamas. A neighbor testified that he saw Scott wearing gloves as he pushed his wife's body into the pool. Such deliberate actions made it clear that Scott's behavior was too complex and purposeful to be a sleepwalking episode. So, the jury rejected his defense and sentenced him to life imprisonment. In India, one of the oldest and most important cases related to sleepwalking is the Papati Amal case. Papati, a young mother who had recently given birth, one night, October 28, 1957, jumped into a well with her baby. She was rescued, but sadly her baby drowned. The police charged her with murder, but her lawyers argued that she had a history of sleepwalking and had jumped into the well while asleep, unaware of her actions. However, the Sessions Court rejected this argument and sentenced her to life imprisonment, saying that sleepwalking does not fall under Section 84 of the Indian Penal Code, which covers insanity or unsoundness of mind. Her lawyers appealed to the Madras High Court, which did not overturn her conviction since there had been no expert testimony, but gave a revolutionary judgment. The court stated that if it can be proven that someone was genuinely sleepwalking during the act, it would be considered unsoundness of mind under Section 84. This became a landmark decision in Indian legal history, establishing that sleepwalking can be a valid legal defense. But again, everything depends on whether the judge believes the evidence. Now friends, harming others is one risk, but sleepwalkers can also harm themselves. They may bump into walls or furniture, causing serious injury. The biggest danger is falling from stairs or balconies, especially if safety grills are missing. In June 2024, a tragic case in Indian Mumbai occurred. A 19-year-old boy named Mustafa Ibrahim Chunawala was sleepwalking when he walked out onto his 6th-floor balcony, which had no safety grill, and fell to his death. Another major danger is when sleepwalkers leave the house or start driving during an episode. For women, such situations can be even more dangerous. If you know someone who frequently sleepwalks and leaves the house at night, take it seriously. Make their environment safe. Remove sharp or dangerous objects from reach. Install safety gates on stairs and grills on balconies. Keep windows and doors locked and add child-proof latches to make them harder to open. Ideally, sleepwalkers should sleep on the ground floor. Use door alarms or motion sensors to alert family members. Lock up medicines and hazardous items securely. Globally, data shows that around 7% of people experience sleepwalking at least once in their lifetime. Among adults, about 3 to 4% are regular sleepwalkers, while among children, the number rises to 15%, meaning 1 in every 7 children experiences sleepwalking at least once. The good news is, occasional sleepwalking isn't usually dangerous, and most children outgrow it naturally. If you're a parent and have seen your child sleepwalking, here's what to do. 1. Make the environment safe. Ensure no sharp objects or obstacles are on the floor. Keep doors and windows locked. You can also use bed rail guards, simple safety nets that fit under the mattress and block the edges of the bed. These are easily available online. If you see your child sleepwalking, don't try to wake them. Gently guide them back to bed and lay them down calmly. Speak softly if necessary to help them relax, but avoid shaking or startling them. If your child sleepwalks at the same time every night, try waking them gently about 15 minutes before that time for a few days. This often breaks the cycle. And if you're an adult who experiences sleepwalking, focus on reducing your triggers. Improve your sleep hygiene. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Maintain a consistent sleep schedule. Try to reduce stress. Even therapy can help. Finally, remember, sleepwalking is not supernatural. It's not about ghosts or spirits. It's a scientific and biological phenomenon that reveals how fascinating the human brain truly is. Even though science hasn't fully explained it yet, like many other mysteries, it remains a neurological condition, not a paranormal one. Thank you very much for watching.